Welcome to Three Takes. I'm Ishana.
I'm Minali.
I'm Mona.
Three women.
Three generations.
One family, unpacking the questions we all ask.
Hey Gus, how are you? What's up?
So I'm actually finishing up my headache fellowship. So I'm in my last 2 days and finally going to be in attending. So this is like literally after 13 years of training. I'm finally going to start my big grown-up job.
It's been such a journey for you.
Yeah, that's well done. Congratulations. Really excited, Minali.
No, I know. It's like I was just trying to take some time to reflect on, like how I got to this point through like college and med school and fellowship now. But even like with fellowship, there were definitely pain points that happened before I even got accepted into headache fellowship. I mean, you guys know that I actually wanted to do a different fellowship, like a neuroimmunology fellowship before headache. Like I knew I was wanted to do headache, but I thought I was going to do two. And
can you just talk about like, for some people who maybe don't know like what fellowship is, because it's not necessarily something people have to do right after medical school?
So it's basically like subspecialized training. So after medical school, you basically choose whatever specialty you want, whether that's internal medicine or surgery. For me, that was neurology. And then within neurology, you can subspecialize further. And with that,
so basically, it's like people who just want to continue doing school.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
so like I wanted
ending.
to continuing school. But in retrospect, I'm so glad things didn't work out. So you all know that I was trying for this neuroimmunology fellowship, and it was a fellowship program through my residency training. So it was like in the same institution, basically. And you network, you like talk with people. And basically, long story short, is that people were pretty much telling me, like the admin, the program directors, they were all like, you're an internal candidate, basically 99% shot that you will get in. So don't even worry about it, really. And then I went through the interview process. And then by the end, I got this very generic email, basically like, we're sorry to inform you, but you did not get accepted into the fellowship class. And I was just so shocked. You guys know how hard I took that rejection, but coming out of that was not easy. And I also think I was just so shell-shocked because, one, it was such a generic email. And I was like, why can't you just like tell me or give me some feedback? Yeah, or like something. And so, yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that fellowship rejection happened. And it took me a long time to get over it. Honestly, it was kind of a traumatic event for me. But then like through therapy, through coaching, I learned certain strategies to get over it. But fortunately, like essentially 6 months later, I was able to apply for headache fellowship, which is something I always wanted to do. But I just thought I was going to do it the year after. And, I got into headache and people really value me and I really enjoy my job. But it was not an easy road.
Yeah. No, I'm really proud of you. I mean, we were all there when that rejection email happened and, can't even imagine how you were feeling, let alone like how emotional we were feeling. And I think that's a worthwhile conversation for us to have in this episode today, really tackling why does rejection hurt so badly and things that through our personal rejections, tactics, or just takeaways and life lessons that have come from them.
I would say that rejection is really part of life, right? I think we should also see that how rejection really is a redirection, right? So Minali, in your case, think about it that, okay, because you wanted to do both fellowship, but you were still able to get in one. And then now you're in the best situation because you finished your headache fellowship and now you're working in a headache field as well as your passion of journalism. So I think that overall the redirection was just amazing. But I understand at that time it really hurts.
Yeah, and I think maybe just to start acknowledging that it is like an emotional process to be rejected, whether you're like, it's something you're super passionate about or even just like the simple task of being told no, like no one, like that's not in our human brain. So
yeah, it's hard to not take it personally, right?
Yeah.
Like if someone's telling you near guarantee, we love you, and then it almost feels like someone's just like letting you out in the cold with a wet blanket. You know what I mean? It's just like, it definitely hurts, and it's hard initial reaction not to take it personally and not to tell yourself, well, it must be because I'm not good enough.
Yeah, because I think it threatens our like belonging, that identity, and then something which we probably have told ourselves that, oh, that's guaranteed, or maybe we earned it, right? So I don't know how emotional, everybody processes things differently.
Yeah, and I was actually in my therapy session a few days ago, and one of the things we were talking about is when things don't really happen like you plan, a lot of the times like our imagination just completely takes over, where then you like hyper focus on like what could have happened, right? So I mean, like for me, the biggest one that comes to my head instantly is just going through the college process back like when I was like a junior in high school and applying. And I just know for me, like that was just a very difficult process, not only to just apply, but then get rejection after rejection after rejection. And also when like I wasn't fully developed yet, like I am a words of affirmation person. So to literally open up the college portal or get mailed letters of rejection, it's hard to really be like, what have I worked so hard for then? And who is going to actually see my value?
And I think Minali and Ishana, to your point, actually I was in one of the workshops, actually it was millennials and Gen Z, and they were just talking about that, how they were rejected and how it felt, different scenarios of life. And they said, how come our parents or, the baby boomers and Gen X, handle it better? And it made me think, is it something we as a society, like, our generation people didn't really equip the upcoming generation how to handle rejection? Or maybe we built the things around, okay, oh, wow, you are good, everything. Like, we kind of set that expectation that everybody started to feeling, oh, they're entitled to. And if it doesn't, it really breaks that expectation.
But do you think that your generation does handle rejection better, or do you think you just internalize it more, where we as like very vocal of like, oh my God, I'm really upset?
Well, yeah,
because
and just one thing to add to that, because like I don't know if you or Papa ever going to therapy, whereas like me and Ishana like have used it pretty regularly in our lives.
Yeah, I'm a very much advocate, and I tell all my generation parents also, I think in our generation, the therapy, counseling is a stigma. And I think, no, like, there is nothing. The more you share, the more people will be able to comfortable to talk about things like that. Because in our generation, we felt rejected, right? I know there are just so many layoffs, right? But it's not our fault. We felt like it's not necessarily because something is not going well, you got laid off, or somewhere you didn't get a job, or in a relationship you're rejected, or whatever situation you are rejected. The circumstances might be different, but how to handle that is important, right? So I think we just internalize, or probably we'll talk to people who have very, very comfort. A lot of people in our generation won't be as vocal, but I'm trying to, I think, and that is one of the reason I'm today in the podcast with you guys discussing this, because I think I wanted to reach out to more people that it is completely normal to talk about things like that, because the more we are able to talk openly, our kids, we will be doing better for the upcoming generation to have a better support system.
Yeah. Maybe that can pivot into everyone, unless you're just like not a human, faces rejection. And I think we all deal with it differently. Like I like talking to, I think we're close enough as a family where I can, talk about it and really let it all out in front of you. But I also need that one person, like my therapist, who just like knows nothing about me, who like can really also help me like move forward. Because I think when I'm talking to you guys as family, it's like I just want like comfort and I want sympathy. But when I'm talking to my therapist, it's like I want tactical things where I'm not like ruminating over my rejection. Because I also think this might be a generational difference, is like I think we linger on to thoughts for a really long time, and our resiliency is not as strong as Mama, your generation.
And I think it's to do more of the controlling the emotions. And when I was your age, probably I reacted much differently on the things what I do. And I think over the year, you realize that rejection is a part of normal life. We all will want everything to go very smooth according to us, but that's not the reality. So earlier we face, better we are. And I would suggest, Minali, Ishana, I think, yes, it will hurt, but more and earlier you can equip with the tips and the techniques, it is better. And the more you can share with your friends or even with us, the better we will become in handling, controlling our emotion. Because it's you. What is it? The rejection. It's that emotional feelings, right? You feel, my God, hurt. You feel you are not that worthy, and then that expectation. Sometimes we build that expectation around us. Sometimes because it's society pressure, people started seeing in some way, and we said, "Oh my gosh, how are we going to face that embarrassment?" So there's many things come with it, and I think the more we are open and we started to learn how to handle it, the better we are.
I think you're spot on when, talking about like you feel not worthy, you feel embarrassed. Like just going back a little bit, I remember when I got that rejection email, like I was just going over like all the sacrifices that like myself and my husband had to make to like get this far along in training, right? It's like we're not able to afford like a house because of our trainee salary, or like we delayed having kids until after training, or just like all these other life decisions that we put on hold because we were prioritizing our career. And so I remember at the time it felt like such a slap in the face when I got that very generic rejection email and, not really even providing any kind of personal feedback in any way. And I think it got to the point really that I was just so anxious, like going to work. I was just going through the motions, not really feeling like it was meaningful for me. It got to the point where, like, you guys remember this, like I was forgetting like life things. I forgot my best friend's birthday. I forgot when like Rahul won this award. Like I was just not present at all. And that's when I knew I really needed to get help. And so that's when I sought out both a therapist as well as a career coach. And I don't see therapy anymore, but I still see my career coach. But both of those at the time were really helpful because I learned very specific strategies to really help me get me out of that low point.
I'm curious, Mama, like to flip the script around. I mean, you've talked about some of the career coaching you've done. You and Pop have also started, really grew and sold a business. And I know you were heavily involved with just the recruiting and hiring process. I mean, how is it on your side having to actually reject someone?
It hurts. It bothers when you have to reject someone also. And on the other side also, it's not that easy. So I remember when I was doing for business, I used to really feel bad that, there were so many young people from college, applying, or when we used to go for career fair, like, they're looking for the future, they have this hope, they think their resumes are good, and I think they have all the capabilities. But it's really hard to get everyone, right? Because that's how you cannot just do it. It's just not possible that you take every single person. So what we have done is that try to call, if we have called them for interview, we will call them and we will explain them a little bit. But on the other side, there were so many applicants, we really cannot call everyone. So that's where the general message come. Yes, it will be really nice to really able to call every single applicant pool, but sometimes also it's difficult. So, and we know that, oh my gosh, it's really hard. They must have received this email. How must be they feeling? There was a time that several nights I will think about it because I know I have you both and I know how would you react? So I would think about things like that.
Yeah. And you're the one that is deciding someone's fate. Right?
Yeah,
So you said, you would email reject people? Like, what is the best way to reject someone?
I'm sure that what we did might not be the best way to do it. So the people who we interviewed and who didn't get it will call. But not every single applicant pool, because you will get, for one position, you get so many resumes. Yeah. And then we also found out there was many candidates, they were just applying just for the sake of applying and they didn't have interest. But there were some genuine people also, right? So I think it's very difficult. And in the real world, it is, maybe there can be some with the technology or something efficient way can come where even if you cannot call, at least you can summarize and send that, maybe because of this, we are not able to. But we are right now, I'm not sure how to do that in the best way.
I think what's hard is it's like so many times there's just not closure.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like, I mean, even in a relationship that ends or a job rejection, it's just like you want a reason. to like cling on to or like some sort of rationale or justification, when in reality, sometimes there's just like, it's just competitive, right? And it's just like, you got outcompeted this time. And actually that was the first thing I had to change from my mindset standpoint. And one of the strategies that I learned is just accepting the natural competitive process that comes for applying for any kind of job.
One thing which I think I do, and I have taught this in the workshops also, that I think controlling your emotion, are you upset? Are you angry? What kind of emotions you are feeling? Are you feeling embarrassed? Are you worried about your growth? Are you worried about what people are going to think? Are you going to like how to explain? So I think trying to understand what are you feeling, and I think writing it down. And typically what I do, if I feel that rejection, I like to internalize, and I write in my gratitude journal that what I'm grateful for and what this thing has made me feel. And the next day only, I will talk to people, because I don't know in that moment, feeling so emotional, how I'm going to react. Yeah. So I think for me, just sitting it for one day kind of helped.
Yeah, I think giving yourself grace. I mean, I think what you said, Mama, is great. I just think that's like way easier said than done to just do it. I'm just thinking about like a recent interview I had where I had, made it to the final round of the interview, and then just that final interview like didn't go great. And I think that to your point, like what has been tough for me to get over that rejection is knowing that there's someone who performed better who like almost took my spot. So it's the idea of like someone else was able to like pull it together. Like, why couldn't I? And then I think that's where the like negative self-talk sometimes happens. But no, I do think like writing things down and like really taking time to yourself of how are you feeling? Like, are you feeling sad? Are you feeling mad? Are you feeling guilt? Because like those different emotions get associated with like different reasons why I think rejection can hurt so bad. But I don't know, like I don't think there necessarily is like the best or a solution to it, because like it's not reality for everything to always like go our way.
I mean, and then
either.
time obviously definitely helps when another opportunity comes, like, you kind of move on. But I am curious, like, what are some resiliency strategies you all use to try to help overcome rejection?
This sounds super, super simple, but I've noticed when a rejection does happen, as simple as it is, or when I start thinking about a time I get rejected, I feel like physically my shoulders tend to get like tensed up. So like honestly taking like 3 huge deep breaths, because your breath like slows down your like psychological activity and also your physical activity. That's really helped. But also I think like writing not only what I'm like grateful for, but also just what exactly am I feeling? What is the feeling? And like, what does that mean? I think helps me really realize like how realistic are my heightened emotions and how unrealistic are they?
And I think for me, I really intentionally start doing, if I feel a rejection or the moment of disappointment, I name 3 things which I'm grateful for. And then also I say, you know what, I have a better opportunity. I know I can do it. I think what happened is that if I stay negative or stick to that thought will overpower my any other thought. So that time my goal is to that negativity not come and take over my brain. So I just have to say 3 simple things. It can be anything that what I'm grateful for. And then, I have a better opportunity. I'm going to do this. I can do it. Because that time I'm just fighting with my negative thought.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I'll share 2 strategies I learned through coaching and therapy that really helped me. Was one, it's just like learning a hard lesson, which is not to take what people tell you to face value, right? Because until you have like a written signed contract, people aren't binded to do anything for you. Like even if they say like 99% you'll get this job, like those are just words, right? So I think moving forward, I've just been a lot more cautious in what people say. And until things are finalized, I don't try to think too far ahead. So that was just like a hard lesson. And then Mama kind of mentioned this earlier, but using rejection for redirection So I redirected how I can bring like joy and meaning to my job, because that was one of the things that I really struggled with immediately after this fellowship rejection. So I focused on the things that I could control. So I was going into my senior year of residency and I was like, you know what? You're a leader of the medical team. You can decide like what the work environment is going to be. You can decide how you want to optimize your juniors' experience. You can help take on some of the grunt work that the juniors have to do to make their experience better. So I really focused on optimizing my juniors' experience, and then also taking breaks during the day that I found meaningful. So I would take a 10-minute walk and I would make my computer password like something that really brought me joy. Like I think at one point it was Deja Cat or something, like, you know, just like something that like would make me laugh. So those are just a few things that I did.
Doja Cat.
Oh, sorry, Doja Cat. Yeah,
Just
Doja
like
Cat.
to fix your
Sorry.
error.
Yeah. Yeah, those were just some of the things that I learned. And I actually did write an article about this on like how I saw my rejection as a personal failure on Doximity. We can attach the link to the show notes, but it goes into more detail.
I mean, given that you're a neurologist and also focused on like the brain and headache, is there any like scientific reasoning that like our brain thinks like rejection is like a pain or just like a hardship like neurologically?
You know, I don't know like the exact sort of like centers and what neural circuit is triggered with rejection specifically, but I'm sure it's a combination of like the amygdala, which is like fear, and like some of the frontal processing, which helps with like executive function. So I think there's multiple parts that are involved with emotional regulation. But yeah, I mean, there's a neural chemistry to all of this as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have to admit, Minali and Ishana, I think you guys are a lot more open to talk about things like that. And that also helps. I think now I feel a lot more confident, a lot more okay to share things around rejection, because I realize that it can really help people. I think keeping things in, just sharing the good news and all the good thing, we are really not helping others. Like, yeah, that's great. But how are you helping the people? Because every single person goes through the rejection. Can we be part of something where we all can help? And I think some of the tips and tricks and the just openness to talk about the topic, I think is powerful.
It was. And, you know, honestly, once I opened up about my own fellowship rejection experience, I was talking to different people about this, like at work, and I was just so surprised and also humbled to learn that they were also willing to share their rejection experiences, whether that it was a fellowship, whether it was a rejection from a promotion based on gender. Like, you know, there was just so much that people were willing to share because I shared, and I really appreciate that. And it actually did help me.
Yeah. I remember I even had a friend who saw me repost your article who, like, you don't even know, and was like, oh my God, your sister's article, like, that's like exactly what I'm going through right now. So yeah, I think being more open about it has helped other people and us.
I have shared that article on LinkedIn, and I have to say that 2 of the people in my network, adults like baby boomers and Gen X, they reached out. They said they have this and that has really helped that. And one of them was Minali, your age. She reached me out that she has gone through the rejection, not in the medical field. Mm-hmm. And it was so nice to hear that you are talking about openly. So I think your writing and reaching out to more people is also has helped a lot of people.
Yeah. If there's something you could go back and tell your younger self about rejection, what would you tell her?
I think I would say that this was not in my control. Like, you know, I can control only what I can control. So I need to control how I am going to, this thing make me feel and what I'm going to do next.
I was going to say, I think I would probably say that there are bigger and better things for you to come. You just can't see it yet.
I would say, don't be so hard on yourself. Everything will come with time and patience, and every opportunity and disappointment is an opportunity and a growth stage. So,
yeah.
Wow, look at us being inspirational.
Yeah, and I think if the parents and the organization and school system can also, an institution can also start helping that how to deal with rejection. And rejection is a normal thing, like, you know, I think it can really help in general.
Yeah, I mean, I took a class by one of my probably my favorite class, and also like one of the best professors, Jonathan Haidt. He wrote this book called The Anxious Generation, and one of the sections of the class was on resiliency and how basically, I mean, I think it's Gen Alpha who's younger than me, but even a little bit of Gen Z, like we are like the least resilient people. Like we cannot handle rejection, and a lot of it just stems from this constant stimulation of like instant gratification, seeing what's happening on social media. If we're not doing that, if someone tells us no, someone else is doing that, and just this like comparison culture. And, you know, he advocates that it is up to institutions and schools and employers to help create an environment and support the idea of like, you should still give honest feedback and people need to understand rejection, but there needs to be support around handling it.
Right. Working in the Harvard medical system, it can definitely be very intimidating because obviously people have worked so hard and seem almost perfect to get to this point and to work at an institution like this. But I will say, like, since going through this experience, like, you just realize how universal the rejection experience is, even at top institutions. And I think it's just so important that we shed light on this and that people feel comfortable. But part of that, Ishana, is like, you're so right. You have to create an environment that allows you to feel accepted and, you know, a sense of belonging, even for the rejection.
Right. Like, because right now, even in the society, even the people I got, I think they feel embarrassed if their kid is going to therapy. They won't share. And right. I'm like, well, the more we share, the more it is better. Or the rejection, they will, you know, and the people I know, they will make it, oh, you know, because of this, well, that's okay. It doesn't need any explanation. The rejection
like people
happened.
will like downplay, like if you got in, but they didn't, right? You know, it's just like, you don't need to do that.
Yeah. So I think rejection is a part of that. The better we support each other to deal with it and openly we talk and we create the environment, because I think we also have a responsibility towards the society and community, right? There's so much mental breakdown. But I think we start supporting and building that, like, you know, so the people, like when they're going to social, like identity crisis, they are going career changes and all of that, people are not able to talk openly because they're worried about society rejection. They are worried about all these things. So support system is important.
Mama, do you think as you sold your company and you've now really been focusing your time on developing organizations, you talked about in our mentorship episode, you work on that. How have the conversations been around as the millennials and Gen Z come in? How do you handle resiliency, rejection, giving feedback in general? Like, is that now a part of things that you're helping build?
It is definitely getting better. And as I said, because of you two, I have also learned a lot. So I started having this conversation as more normal. So I have seen that leaders also start talking about the people I work with, the CEOs or, the team members or whoever I'm working with, like able to talk about their rejection or how their team felt. So I think the more natural conversation you do, and better it is. And I do see that. And I think some of my even friends, I think some are becoming more comfortable, but there's some who won't. Like they will kind of hide things in a way that, everything is normal. And I think that definitely puts pressure on the kids and it puts the pressure on the parents.
I mean, I think this is probably a good stopping point for us to talk about our takeaways. I can maybe go first. I think a few things that both of you talked about in terms of different strategies. Ishana, you talked about like writing down your emotions, just getting it on paper. I've also heard like some people who will like write down everything and then like shred it and like throw it in the trash can. Sometimes just feels good. And then Mama, you talked also a lot about, even though your generation doesn't necessarily like go to therapy, but finding a support system to share, right? Whether that's close friends or family, like just opening up to somebody can also really help.
I think for me, Minali, what you just said about writing all the emotions and throwing it, I think that's great. Yeah, I think I will do that. I think because sometimes you go through, there's a lot of emotions, but they are not probably really that great that you want to keep it. So you can just throw it. Okay, it's gone.
Yeah. I think mine is that rejection is never going to be a comfortable feeling, no matter how many times it happens. It's just a redirection, as you both had mentioned. And I think I learned something really important from Mama, because especially given the fact that I'm going into the career of business, I'm going to be a manager sooner rather than later, knowing that the roles will also get reversed or I will have to say no to people and reject people, handling that with grace and empathy is equally as important as how I myself handle my own rejections.
Very true, Ishana. Very true.
And I think we would really, really like this episode to be something that we learn a lot from you all listeners. We are still learning how to handle rejection ourselves. We'd love to hear if there's any stories you all would like to share with us, whether it's on our Instagram, website, or our email.
Thanks for joining us on 3 Takes. If something we shared sparked a new thought or opened up a conversation with someone you love, we want to hear about it. DM us on Instagram at 3.takes, email us at connect@3takes.com, or visit us at www.3takes.com. And if this episode meant something to you, share it with another mother, daughter, or sister in your life. It's how we grow and keep the stories moving.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question, Minali. So, Ishana.
It was Ishana who asked the question, but that's fine. You don't know your daughters.
Yeah, so